A nun and a priest vie for control of a parochial school in doubt. And a dysfunctional French family gathers for Christmas, hoping to reconcile their differences in A Christmas Tale.
Milk tells the story of the national hero Harvey Milk. Slumdog Millionaire is Danny Boyle's rags to riches story in Mumbai, and I've Loved You So Long charts a French ex-convict's journey back into the world.
All this plus a discussion of the films of Gus Van Sant on CinemaScene. Hello, I'm Morton Marcus, film critic and former film instructor at Cabrillo College.
And I'm Richard von Busack, film critic for Metro Newspapers.
Richard, we're going to try something new today.
Yeah, do 5 films. And
5 films.
Do without the video.
Without the video, because we have some very strong films here for people out there to see during the Christmas season.
Yeah, this is just part of it. I mean, the holiday smorgasbord starts out
and there is 1 or 2 herrings in here, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid they've been out there. You can smell them. They're imported, yeah.
But by and large, these films, all of them have some aspect that really are worth seeing and worth talking about.
That's for sure, which is not always the case when it gets to be the summer, you know, some of the lag time. So
this is, and you are dressed appropriately with wonderfully subtle greens and reds against black there?
You know, I like to dress this way when we're talking about French film, makes the Americans a little, you know, calmer.
Oh, I thought it was sort of a Western Christmas tradition.
Oh, you know, that too. So, okay, now Gus Van Sant proposes he use the life of Harvey Milk as a way of charting the rise of gay rights. In the role of the martyred San Francisco politician, Sean Penn shows what made Milk so popular: 1970s style irreverence and the urge to disarm his militant opponents. Chief among these opponents in this biopic is the troubled Dan White, Josh Brolin, a San Francisco supervisor who sees in Milk a man who is destroying his city. Milk's personal life isn't stinted in favor of the political history. Emile Hirsch co-stars as Milk's assistant, an ex-street hustler. James Franco is the boyfriend he loses along the way. And Diego Luna plays Milk's drastically conflicted live-in lover.
First order of business to come out of this office is a citywide gay rights ordinance, just like the one that Anita shot down in Dade County. What do you think, Lotus Blossom?
I think it's good. It's not great.
Okay, so make it brilliant. We want Anita's attention here in San Francisco. I wanted to bring her fight to us. We need a unanimous vote. We need headlines.
Dan White is not going to vote for this.
Dan White will be fine. Dan White is just uneducated. You'll teach him.
Hey, Harv, committee meets at 9:30. Hey, you guys. Say, did you get the invitation to my son's christening? I invited a few of the other soups, too.
Oh, well, I'll be there.
Great. Thanks.
Did he hear you? What the?
Are you going?
I would let him christen me if it means he's going to vote for the gay rights ordinance. We need allies.
I think he can
We
hear
need
everything.
everyone.
Jesus.
I don't think he heard you.
Is it just me or is he cute?
This was the biggest surprise of the year for me, pretty much. I was not expecting a lot. Gus Van Sant's record, we'll be talking about it in a while, is a little on the spotty side. Sean Penn can be a little bit histrionic. And biopics of martyred figures are, I think, in my experience, to be avoided. And actually, this worked well. It zoomed along. It's focusing on the last 10 years of Harvey Milk's life. Sean Penn had this lightness and humor to him that he hasn't had in quite some time. And what else about it? I mean, it just it's intimate at the same time soaring. It's very well directed, opening up from small gatherings of men, hiding from the law, to wide open, public rallies. So what did you think? Did you like it?
Well, I thought it really was terrific. And, I got several things to say about it. Sean Penn was wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Harvey Milk was a man who was in many ways larger than life, in those last 10 years anyway.
Right.
And so you have a guy who is usually over in his acting, which is Sean Penn, and so it meets. He really does restrain himself.
Yeah.
But I'm sure this is an Academy Award performance, at least a nomination.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very timely as part of the thing. It really comes in just at the right time with a controversy over Proposition 8.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked Carter Wilson, who was seeing the film
really?
the same time
Yeah.
I did.
Sure, he's my old professor.
I asked him what he thought of it, because Carter, as you know, had written the Academy Award documentary on milk around 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And he thought the film was wonderful. He thought Penn was wonderful. And I asked him about the accuracy of the film, and he said it is amazingly accurate, and that he was very happy to do something that you mentioned, which was to show not only the political stuff, but the private life as well.
It's really rare. I mean, usually when you go see the documentary, it's like an example, Boys Don't Cry. You see the Brandon Tina story, the documentary about it, and you learn so much, and then you see the film and the rest. It's very stylized and romanticized. In this case, you almost feel like you learned more because there had been more revealed over the course of the 10 years.
Right.
It's a very rare feeling to watch something where you feel like you've gotten a little bit more out of it than you did even from the documentary.
It's true. And I just want to say one more thing, and we got to leave this.
Sure.
NPR did a series of interviews down in the Castro area of young people, young gay people. 70% of them had never heard of Harvey Milk.
That figures.
And the other 30% said that he was irrelevant, not realizing what he had opened up for them. This film will once more put Harvey Milk where he should be in the history of what went on in the 70s.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. It's 1964 at St. Nicholas Parochial School in John Patrick Shanley's Doubt. Known as the Dragon, the school's principal, Sister Aloysius, Meryl Streep, rules through fear and old-fashioned ideas. But newly arrived Father Flynn, Philip Seymour Hoffman, brings with him a kinder, more compassionate approach. The two join battle over the school's first black student, when innocent Sister James, Amy Adams, tells Sister Aloysius that Father Flynn has been spending too much time with the boy. Gripped by suspicions of sexual abuse, Sister Aloysius goes after the priest without a scrap of evidence, driven by her own biased certainty, and not a shred of doubt.
What happened in the rectory?
Happened? Nothing happened. I had a talk with the boy.
What about?
Private matter.
He's 12 years old. What could be private?
You haven't the slightest proof of anything.
But I have my certainty.
I can fight you.
You will lose.
Why you gotta know something like that for sure when you don't? You come to your school, kids don't like him. One man is good to him, this priest.
It is unsettling to look at people with suspicion. I feel less close to God.
When you take a step to address wrongdoing, you are taking a step away from God. But in his service?
You are single-handedly holding this parish back.
What are you doing in this school?
There are people who go after your humanity to tell you that the light in your heart is a weakness. Don't believe it.
Well, this is a much heralded film.
Yeah.
And what it is it's an acting tour de force by all four people who are in it, and I'll mention that fourth person in a second. Shanley both wrote the screenplay from his award-winning play and directed the film.
Yeah.
So he's getting out of it just what he wants to get out of it. People who have been to parochial school, they really have great memories of when parochial school was this way.
Yeah, this is like the old school. It's based in a very interesting time, and there's like an inside joke for Catholics about the evil, well, not evil, but just like the old-fashioned Sister Aloysius putting up a photo of the old Pope Pius instead of the new reformer. It's about the cusp of time when Vatican II was like starting to take over, and that pressure point. Is the reason why, in addition to the neighborhood, the racism and so forth. But
what really drives this film really are the four acting jobs.
Right,
and
yeah.
I'm talking about Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is really good. Meryl Streep was fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously we're talking about Academy Award winning
well, I mean, that's for me, that's my problem with it. I think that Philip Seymour Hoffman, for example, a wonderful actor, he gets to really rattle the walls in this wonderful, this oration on gossip. But you look at him and I think they needed somebody more in the lines of James Cromwell, someone in which there would be more of a shadow of a doubt. You see Hoffman and you think, well, he'd fulfill any appetite he had. We've seen him do it on screen already. So, but go on, please.
But I think that there's just, there's doubt even at the end of this film. But then there's Amy Adams, who we saw in that wonderful film that she was nominated for an Academy Award
Enchanted?
for. What was it?
No.
It was well, I forgot its name. But she really is marvelous in this part as the innocent sister. But then there is that one scene.
Oh, you're thinking of Junebug. Okay, yeah. No,
Junebug.
But she has that same sort of charming, wide-eyed innocence. You know, she's the neutral point.
But there's one scene in here in which the African-American boy's mother, Viola Davis, takes a walk and has a confrontation with Meryl Streep. That is one of the classic scenes of the year. They both are just incredible.
It's lovely stuff. I mean, if this film were an opera, that's the big aria, is the one that Viola Davis has, or Viola Davis. About as deep as a confessional font, I'm afraid. I mean, I do think it's very funny to see like a Catholic school Gothic like this, with the wind moaning and the rain pouring in and the thunder and lightning, the electricity, and it's juicy. Oh, it's so juicy. Yeah.
But at the same time, the ending is way too abrupt and hokey.
Yeah, and it brings out the staginess in a big way at the finale. Now, Slumdog Millionaire is Danny Boyle's fictional account of a champion on the Mumbai version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. In this fairy tale rags to riches story, Jamal, Dev Patel, makes a mint, but ends up in the dungeon of the police station being interrogated to find out how a slum kid like him knew all the answers. A sympathetic police inspector listens to Jamal's story of hardships. Orphaned during a race riot, Jamal was taken in by a Fagin called Maman, played by Ankur Vikal. After they escape, Jamal and his brother Salim meet the girl Latika, who later grows up to become a beauty in the form of Frida Pinto. The two brothers become train hustlers and tourist robbers before Salim takes up a more serious life of crime.
You are on your own, Jamal.
Hello? Hello, Jamal?
I have to say, this is an enormously popular film and quite beloved. It leaves me very cold, and I'll try to explain why. I think that it's great seeing so much of India in small camera locations that a larger camera couldn't have got into. Danny Boyle is very witty with his editing, restaging some of the stuff that made, I think, is still his best film, Trainspotting, work. Right. Well, what did you go? You go for a second.
Well, I think this film takes a formula film, a Stallone formula film, and just where I thought worked it brilliantly. You really see not only India, but you see what it is like to be a no caste, and a Muslim on top of that in India, and just what these kids have to go through, and that is enthralling and terrifying, brilliantly timed and everything. And the idea,
well, that's the thing. I think that's what gives it some resonance. Yeah,
and the idea from the novel that each one of these events that happens to these two brothers will be, in some way, give the kid one of the answers on this quiz show is also beautiful. However, and then I will let you go, the end of this film suddenly turns romantic, sentimental, and almost absurd.
Well, I think the idea is that Boyle is trying to turn, like courting Bollywood all the way through, and finally just decided to make it a Bollywood film at the end. I had trouble with the interrogation scenes because I thought why were the cops having so much trouble, hadn't they ever investigated anything? They couldn't have heard some stories of like hardship and torment, like he was saying before. Wouldn't it have been better if there was like an element of doubt in his story? If it seemed like a fantasy
he
or
was
a fable.
not. You see, the problem was he wasn't forthcoming.
Yeah,
they really had to drag it out of him. And by the way, the inspector was Ephraim Khan, who played the father in The Namesake. And even with what the little he had was just wonderful.
Well, I think that it's a strange sort of feeling. A lot of films you see about India, you see Rai, you see, and whoever else, you want to go there, you want to see it, and you see this, and it's you want to kind of stay away. And that's for me it's a problematic. I mean, or is that the idea? You should just never go there.
No, I don't think so.
I think this was by going. You know?
I think this was two films working against each other. The Bollywood sentimentality,
yeah,
the ultra realism of what it was like to be a kid.
And I think that's why I felt alienated most.
But
most
last
of it.
words, I think everyone out there is going to love this film.
Yeah, it's very popular. Yeah.
When we return, we will discuss the films of Gus Van Sant. Gus Van Sant, a director who has always fascinated me because some of his films are so bad.
Yeah.
The Cowgirls Get the Blues.
Right.
His last one, Paranoid Park.
I didn't find that. I didn't
that
find that
bad?
it really. Yeah. No.
How about Psycho?
Well, that's okay. Yeah, that's an outrage.
Okay,
The shot-for-shot remake of Psycho with the original dialogue in most of the places, with Christopher Doyle shooting it instead of the, the black and white. Yeah, that's pretty. That's a turning point.
But the thing about it that's so amazing about him is, and I don't know the man at all.
Yeah.
It's like you hand him a good script, and he just says, "Oh." And all of those mannerisms, the things that he overdoes, go out the window, and he gives you these terrific films like Milk.
Well, the thing with Milk is I think, let's hear out some of the more unbearable experimental films. And I would say Elephant is one that was really hard to bear, whereas Jerry was like the one that just drove me nuts.
Jerry was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was just pretentious and
I remember the critics showing everyone sort of was screaming as they came out of the theater.
Some people, some people adore it. But the thing that he does a lot in these two movies, the long tracking shot of following people walking, that worked beautifully to isolate Josh Brolin. The terrific performances, as Dan White.
In those long corridors of City Hall.
Yeah, that's where it worked. It was great to see experimental work, pay off in the context of a commercial film, which may sound like I don't know.
Well,
running down an experimental film, but
let's say some of the films he does though that are just so amazing. For example, he gets the script for Good Will Hunting from Affleck and his buddy, and he just makes it straight, and it is a great film. It's not a good one; it's a great one. Finding Forrester with Sean Connery was a marvelous little film.
Drugstore Cowboy, one of the great films of the 1980s.
Yeah.
Matt Dillon, the underappreciated Matt Dillon, was perfect in it.
And I think he's done 2 films with Dillon. He really likes Dillon.
Yeah.
He represents American youth of the 70s. So he's a very, very interesting director, because you got to give him a good script in order for him to, and he realizes it. That's the smart thing. He realizes it, and then he just takes off.
It's an erratic career, but it's had some real marvels in it.
Yeah.
So
be interesting to see what he comes up with next.
That's true. Yeah.
The Roulade family gathers for Christmas in Arnaud Desplechin's A Christmas Tale. But this is anything but a merry celebration, since the matriarch of the family, Catherine Deneuve, has been diagnosed with a rare form of fatal cancer, and the family members, as usual, are at each other's throats. It all has to do with history, since the original offspring of the clan died years before as a 5-year-old, and the oldest surviving child, Elizabeth, Annie Cossigny, has felt pressure to fill the gap, as does her younger brother Henri, Matthew Amalric, a drunken lout who Elizabeth despises for his wayward life. Then there's the youngest brother, Ivan, Melville Poupard, an innocent, unaware of a lot of the family's history, who will learn more than he may have wanted to before this Christmas tale is over.
Ma grand-mère, et Joseph, mon frère aîné, le frère de Junon.
Et ça, c'est Simon Petit.
Et c'était son père.
Et elle, c'était ta femme.
Madeleine.
Quel prénom bizarre. Cette photographie, elle a été prise où?
À Milan. Je l'ai rencontrée dans un colloque. Nous nous sommes épousés, ça a duré 1 mois. Et elle a eu cet accident de voiture.
Elle était jolie.
Conduisait mal. Oh, c'était bien avant ici. Ça a changé.
I know we may have a little disagreement on this one, but
Okay.
it is very interesting to have this film and the one that's going to follow it, both French films,
Yeah.
both about families.
Both outside of the capitals, outside of the capital, France, is another point that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
One is actually, this one is actually...
it's up in the north. It's like an industrial town, and then the one we're going to talk about next is Nancy. But let's get going.
Nancy, right.
Yeah.
Okay. This film is around 2 hours and 30 minutes long.
Yeah, it's an epic in a way.
It's an epic, and after a while I'm sitting there, and I didn't realize how long it was. I said, how is this thing going on too long, or has my metabolism slowed down?
No, it's long.
It's full of this family and a lot of different episodes within the family. And after a while, I'm saying, I know where this guy is going with this film, which is nowhere.
Yeah.
Because it's like real life, things don't change.
Right.
And I said, but some of this stuff can really be cut out, and some of it I just don't believe. There's a romance in the middle of this with the younger son's wife and someone else. I just don't believe it, and it really was not necessary in here.
Well,
there was just no sense of form or control, and it just really, after a while,
But at the same time, I feel like it's like looking at something you didn't really want to prune. I loved all the details in this film. This is one of my favorites of the year. It's a very acrid film. I think that you see this and you go, what is the purpose of French film in this day and age? Is it to emulate American film, or is it to try to find some essential quality in French culture that deserves to survive? And I think that quality, among other things, is just like putting a name on your emotions, not lying about them, analyzing the way you feel. And I think that's the marvelous side of this film. This family is they pride themselves in their emotional honesty, which makes them very rough to be around. But you can't say they're liars. There's one that's like lying by omission a bit, but on the whole, they're not dissemblers. Catherine Deneuve, as the matriarch, doesn't pretend to not feel what she feels. I like that stuff. It's modeled, I think, on American film in the sense that it's very similar to You Can't Take It With You by Frank Capra. The family's a bunch of eccentrics. They're even into fireworks. There's little references to it.
But this is the dark side.
This is the dark side. The dark side of the Sycamores. So I found this as fascinating as a novel, and I thought, God, this guy should do some Balzac next. Do an adaptation of that, because he could follow all those little nooks and crannies. He's quite adept with this. Almeric was delight, better than he was in Quantum and Solace, as this rascal, this rogue. More to work with.
Desplechin is a very good friend of his, and he's acted in 4 of Desplechin's films.
Yeah.
Your eloquence has overwhelmed me, and I did enjoy a lot of this film. I just I was looking for some form instead of
some kind of reconciliation. I can see that. Yeah. Now, I've Loved You So Long's title comes from a French folk song. The film itself is a kind of ballad. Kristen Scott Thomas's Juliette has just been released from a French prison after 15 years. She comes to live with her estranged sister, Leah, played by Elsa Zilberstein, and the sister's multi-culti brood in the easygoing city of Nancy. Slowly, Juliette learns to trust and to laugh again, but this gradual gentling also means facing the circumstances of her crime. Director Philippe Claudel's essential humanism and clarity defy melodrama in this story of a woman thawing.
Non, je suis fatiguée.
T'es sûr? Excuse-moi.
Vas-y, je t'en prie.
Vous voulez ma photo? On s'est déjà vu?
Non, je crois pas.
Qu'est-ce que vous me voulez alors?
Rien, je vous regardais pas spécialement.
Mon œil. Arrêtez pas de me reluquer. Tu cherches un mec?
I thought this is an extremely good film, and that Kristen Scott Thomas has never gotten a role this good before either, for lack of a better word than good. I think the subtleties of it, watching this woman kind of gradually being disarmed, I think that's all marvelous stuff, and the contrast with Zilberstein's kind of out of control brood gives this film great charm, and the city of Nancy around him too. I think that you can tell you're not in Paris from the beginning when you're watching the way people treat each other with much more gentleness and wit. But what do you think? Were you all for this?
This is one of my films of the year.
Yeah.
This totally surprised me.
Yeah.
I had a screener and watched it with my wife,
Yeah.
and she just sat there with her mouth open, and I did the same thing.
Yeah.
This is the story of people who have lost something that is so close and precious to them. Everyone has lost something in this film.
Yes.
And what you have then, and this is all so subtly done, like, oh, what about the old grandfather? He's lost his ability to communicate.
Right.
You know, I mean, everyone has lost something.
It's not written out for you on a chalkboard. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just have to watch and get to know these people.
Yeah.
And it says you got a choice. You go on and you become part of life, or you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is what literally happens in this film.
Right.
And it's astonishing. People come up, there's a doctor in here. There's one scene, it's so quick, you got to illustrate it. And everyone's making fun of him because he's from Iraq.
Right.
And they're saying, oh, we know you're an Al-Qaeda secret
right. Yeah, they
agent.
keep going after him.
And,
like
you know, but they're all joking around. They're all soccer playing friends. And one moment, the sister comes into his office because she wants some medical stuff read and understood.
Right.
And there's a photograph, though he is alone, there's a photograph of a woman and 2 children. And it's obviously his wife and child, and
Right.
she looks at it a little surprised. And as they leave, he picks up the photograph, having noticed that she's looked at it, and he says, and this is almost verbatim, and it just knocked me over. He says, you know, they're always here.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah.
you know. And he says,
Scott, yeah.
war is weak. It cannot take them away from me. And I mean, it just, you just sit there and you go, oh my Lord.
See, this is a much more accessible film than A Christmas Tale, and it probably should be recommended stronger, I guess, especially for Scott Thomas. The end.
Yes, she's already been nominated for a Golden Globe.
Yeah, she's
and
going,
will be nominated
she's going to
for
the show,
an
right?
Oscar,
Yeah. But
she's terrific.
But the thing that drives me nuts about it is just really briefly is the ending. I didn't want the mystery solved. I wanted to let the mystery be, and they solve it, and it's very hard to buy. It's hard for people that need that clarity to.
Yeah,
so.
this I certainly don't mind it. But the mystery, folks, is that why was she in prison?
Why was she in prison? Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, it didn't bother me at all. I knew it was coming. I also want to say something about the director, Philippe Claudel,
yes.
who is a well-recognized novelist in France. 2 of his novels, Slow Down the River, and especially Greek. Gray Souls.
Gray Souls.
Both are about World War I.
I'll go get 'em.
Are in translation now.
Oh, okay.
But this is his first film. He wrote the script, and boy, this is a script that is just absolutely beautiful.
That's for
Absolute
sure. Yeah.
characters, everything.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap up. Milk, you're gonna recommend it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Okay, Doubt.
Yeah, slightly with less passion, I think, less ardor for that.
With some herring gills thrown in.
It's very juicy.
Okay, Slumdog Millionaire.
I'm not going to recommend it personally. I think some people love it. But what about you? You're gonna...
I'm going to recommend it.
Okay.
Definitely. I've recommended the first one, also the second one,
okay.
which I didn't say. How about A Christmas Tale?
Christmas Tale, I'm going to recommend. Yes.
Yeah, so am I.
And then
I've Loved You for So Long.
Thing of Beauty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
I
one.
do too. So I have nominated all 5 of these films.
Okay.
I think people will love them over the Christmas vacation. You've nominated 3.
Yeah.
I want to wish you a very, very happy Christmas and a New Year.
Morton.
You know, hopefully we'll come through all of this economic nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, I want to wish you out there a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. I'm Mort Marcus.
Richard von Busack here.
And this has been the Christmas show for CinemaScene.